I was born in Sicily, Italy, Sicily, a small town called Gela Original in the province of Caltanissetta. Most of my life I spent it with my grandmother when I was a young boy, because my father being a merchant marine. My mother, she didn't want to stay by herself with the two kids, because after me, my sister, it was, there too. And we would go to my grandmother, so lunch, breakfast, dinner, sleeping, playing and everything was at my grandmother. I used to remember my grandfather, he didn't go to school, no education, nothing. And he would teach me all these things about the weather. One day when you grow up, you're gonna be in the merchant marine and you can be a chef. Instead of telling me like my father, he would have tell me, no, you have to be a captain. Eventually, as I grew up, as a little kids, I work in a lot of different places. I always had a summer job. Why? Because my mom, she didn't want me to go by the beach myself. I lived I would not say less than a half a mile to the beach, from my house to the beach. So my mother, she was afraid of something would happen to me, because my father was not there to watch me. When I was 13 years old, my mother found me the first job in this little bar. There, the lady they owned it, there was a friend of the family, very nice lady. She really liked me because she saw that kids, they're the 13 years old, that I was reacting like an 18 years old. I was all over. I learned every position of making the ice cream, learning how to make the gelato and making the coffee.
When the first time I came to the restaurant, which I want to say maybe was 6 months after I met Michael, he brought me to eat dinner, and I remember I sat on the corner. It was not so much about coming to the restaurant, it was more about how he was walking around the tables and making sure everything was fine. So I literally ate most likely by myself that day, which now I understand that's him, that's his personality. He's making sure that every customer that comes to the restaurant has a relationship.
I kind of got the passion for, what's my next step? I says, and then I started liking the restaurant feelings. And I started working a little jobs, around the town. There was another restaurant that they called me as an apprentice if I wanted to work in the kitchen. And this is all summer job or Friday and Saturday during the winters, when they had a big wedding or whatever and they needed help. I went over there as a dishwasher, but somehow they always took me out of the dishwasher and they always put me on the line to prepare and everything, because I was more fast cutting the vegetable or preparing things and then washing dishes.
He has a knack for taking the what is or the status quo and bringing it to that next level. And I think he does that across the board. And then once he gets to know you as an individual and know what you like, he takes that to the next level even further, because he takes flavor profiles. Again, I'm a big Japanese food person, and he's done uni pasta for me, and just unbelievable. I have had the luxury to bring my Japanese chef friends to Mike's restaurant here, and they were amazed at some of the dishes that he does. So, and sometimes you don't fully understand how hard it is to cook something, and I certainly respect the art of cooking, but when you bring a chef here and they're telling me how hard it is to prepare something like this, it's amazing.
Now my father, being a merchant marine, he didn't want me to be a chef. He didn't want me to be working in a restaurant, because I come from a family, all my first cousin, they're all lawyers. So father pride, what he wanted me to be, says, you gotta go to school. So my mom and dad, they sent me to a nautical school in Genoa, And then underneath where my auntie lived in Genova, there was a pastry shop from the 1800, the family owned it from the 1800. And I went over there for a little side job as an apprentice. And I started watching what they were doing and everything. Of course, the way they're making pastry in North Italy and the way they were making pastry down in the south, in Sicily, was a little bit different. So I started learning, how to make the panettone genovese, the bocconcini, the crema pasticcera, and I was watching them. Always my eyes, they were on them.
I am Cuban by birth, but I came to New York when I was very young. And life was different way back then, and my mom struggled to raise 2 little girls, and after that was 4 children that she raised by herself. And she showed us, it was all family. She showed us a lot of love, even though we struggled. And this is something I have always carried on and tried to show my children and my grandchildren, to be loving, to appreciate people that show you that kindness. Because in today's world, we tend to forget a lot of things. We're so involved with our own lives and our work, and that we forget to be kind. That's something I have always felt comfortable here. Everything is appreciated. Mike appreciates when we've come in with the children. We've even brought our granddaughters for a special dinner with them. And Mike knocked himself over to make them feel special. And they love it. And, it's not a lot of places that you see or go to that show you that they really care.
I cut it off. I didn't want to go to school as a captain. So my mother and my father says, you can't stay home like this. You got to do something. What is that you want to do? So I went to get my Merchant Marine Seaman book. I went to do the trial for swimming and all that, and I got a job. So I started working on the ship, and I kind of like it. I like it. The money was good. My nice clothing at the time. I was young. I worked in the Merchant Marine until I was like a 23. And then I see the opportunity in Italy. For me, they're very little to open a business. So my uncle Manuel, he was here in the United States. I called him one day. I said, Zio, I finished, my contract with the ship. I'm going to come and visit you. Is okay if you come to California vacation, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, just to come over. He says, we'll go to Disneyland here, At that time, Magic Mountain, he invited me. I was 24 years old when I come over here. Remember 1984, never forget the date, October 24, 1984, I came over here. Remember, it was at 2:30 in the afternoon, and my uncle would show up at the airport with these big cars and everything. And when I saw the big cars, I said, oh my God, what a beauty, and Los Angeles. I mean, I was just, blow up with all these things, seeing all these big signs, whatever. My uncle says, Disneyland, he says, we're going to go next month. He says, I'm here for a little bit. He says, tomorrow we're going to go to a restaurant where I work. I told everything about you.
The next day, you come in the afternoon, whatever, in the morning. The next day, start to work very well. See, and I don't understand. I don't speak very well to me. Not everybody going to learn more than me. So I give a car. I give my car too for drive, because he have a car. I give the car for dry, everything.
So there was this restaurant, I remember, a Port's Call. Used to call a Port's Call. I don't know, what are they doing now? Today, my uncle was working there as waiter, so I met this gentleman, the owner, and he says, hey, why don't you come in, and show us how to do this and that. So I come in, I started making a fresh pasta. Like I never see me making a fresh ravioli, homemade ravioli, homemade gnocchi, homemade fettuccine. I did everything by hand. So another restaurant, he calls me and says, hey, he says, you think you can come and help me how to do pasta, this and that. So I was going to this restaurant at night. I would have finished this job. And I saw the dream. I says, oh my God, this is gonna be good. And I didn't work by the hours. I did everything by the trays. So I would charge, let's just say, 4 trays of gnocchi that I would make for you, dumpling. You gave me $100. You imagine it? The minimum wage was $3.25. I was making $100 with the 4 trays of gnocchi, 25. Of course, they would resell. It's a restaurant. So I got place for making pasta, another place to making like a cannoli shell. I got a guy that he wanted my cannoli shell, so I was going to his place. I remember there was a little pastry shop, Italian shop called the Mamma Mia, and I would go over there and making some stuff for him. So at nighttime, they would give me the key. I would go doing the production at night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was already done. I would go to sleep because at 11 o'clock I had another job.
When I started Mike work, every week I pull him up the check. Ti prendevo la check e save on the bank for Mike. After 4 years and a half, whatever, you have a good money. Save good money.
First 4 years over here, I already bought my first house. I was very proud in 4 years of what I did of myself. More I was speaking English, more people I know it, got a better contact. People start to tell me, hey, can you make this? Can you make that? I went to work for another gentleman here, Carlo Borelli. What a wonderful family. I started as a cook over there because Mr. Borelli was the owner, he was the chef. And I remember he says it to me, I says, I don't want you in the kitchen. He says, I want you on the floor. He says, what do you mean? He says, no, you go on the floor. You go and sell on the floor because you're good. He says, I like what I see from you. And wow, Mr. Borelli says, you're not coming back to the kitchen. You sell all the food because, you know too much. And it's easy to explain to the people what they want and things. So people that would come, I had my clientele where it says, hey, Michael, you make me the dish, you make me this, we're 4 people. People that would start calling and order the food through me, and I would pass to the gentleman and says, hey, tonight I need this, and that. That's how we start everything.
My husband and I came here so often when we were both working, and we were both in engineering, and we'd come in here sometimes 3 times a week, and we were exhausted, and we'd sit down and had gotten to know Mike, and Mike had gotten to know us enough that we could come in and say, feed me. I don't want to make decisions about a meal. And Mike might ask a few questions or he might not, but he knew us well enough that he would bring us just what we needed. It might have been fish. For my husband, it would have been a steak, some beautiful pasta, some vegetables. But that is the kind of relationship that we built with Mike, was just feed us.
And I eat the spot done working for Antonello Restaurant in South Coast Plaza. It was the in place. And I went in as a captain. Over there we would do everything at table side. They knew I was a chef already. I had my experience as a pastry chef and everything. But I went over there with a different role. Dressed in tuxedo, very fancy dining, very fancy clientele. And we're doing everything table side, from the Caesar salad. At the time, it was the trend of a fettuccine alfredo, table side. I work for this gentleman here that I'm very proud to say thank you very much for what I learned from him, Mr. Antonio Cagnolo, which one is my mentor. I worked with him another 12, 13 years. I could not leave at that place because I was very attached to the place. I had my list of VIP clients that I took care of every day. People that would call on my day off and says, you have to come in because you have this guy. I never say no. I never call in sick. I always went to work because I want to provide also. At the time I had 2 kids. I want to provide good for my kids, my family, good education, to send them to Catholic school. Everything the kids they want, Daddy was over there working hard to provide for my kids. That was my priority. I always, in my back of my mind, I will say, man, I don't want to work for this guy the rest of my life. That was my goal. Every day I had that goal. I can't do this. I'm too away from the family. So I get one telephone call, the magic telephone call, when you get the strike from the sky.
I was a young man. I was in the college in Rome, but I didn't like the college. So I get out, jumped the wall out when I was 18. I went in the Grand Hotel Rome, and I had a hotelier school. I went to France, and I found a good job. I was around my 21, in the Australian embassy. And one day I asked Dr. Walker, was the ambassador, I said, Dr. Walker, I want to go to Australia. And he said, between me and you, don't go to Australia, go to America. My first job was in Beverly Hills. on Beverly Hills. I worked for 4 years. And I know all the people, all these movie stars. It was fine. For me, I was a young man. It was fine, you know. And from there, I started to open the restaurants. I opened 3 restaurants in Westwood, and also in West LA, and Rotondo Beach, Torrance. Altogether, 7 I opened. 7 restaurants. Always had fun. And the last one was this one, beautiful, Via Firenze. You know, I love it so much, and I started to build it up here. And I worked for 10 years. But after I had a big problem, my wife gets sick. Everything went on, you know.
We have a Mr. Carlani, Giuseppe, and he called me and says, I need to talk to you. And then I says, what's going on, Giuseppe? He says, you know, I want to sell my place. I have a lot of people that want to buy it. I want to give it to you. And the first thing I says is, Giuseppe says, I don't have a lot of money. He says, I just bought my truck. And says, you know, come and talk to me.
It was all the buyer, but the only things I want to give somebody where the place can be successful. Mike was good, skill for restaurants, and I said, this guy is the best.
So I came over here. We talked with the Giuseppe. Daily was done after 2 hours talking.
Risk is something that it takes so many, different personalities, they can do it. It took me over 50 years before I opened my own company. That's risk. That's going on a line. That's putting it all out there. And I think, you know, we all know about the restaurant business, and we hear and we read, and the margins are so small, and this, and it's tough to make it, and it's the #1 failure rate. Everything is so negative. And you got to have belief in yourself. You got to have belief in the people around you. You got to have the belief in your craft. And Chef Mike, that risk must have been incredible to take. But then when you see the finished product now, you know why he did it.
I'm from Peru originally. I came when I was only 16 by myself, and I went to live with my grandmother, and she actually was just on Social Security benefits. So she didn't really could help me at that time. I had to work ever since I came to the United States. I completed my high school and worked in the evening after school. After that, I went to college and became an accountant, and did it all by myself. So that's what I see the similarity, because he worked hard, and I worked hard I've been working since I was 15.
Certainly a lot of perseverance because of, you know, language and culture and learning a new environment and pushing the boundaries of what you can do as an individual and a human being. There's a lot to be said for, you know, what he had to endure to get to this place in his life, but all those experiences made him who he is today. And I'm not sure the restaurant would be the same if he hadn't gone through all that.
My career was in the aerospace business, and a major portion of that spent launching rockets, and really, you know, as part of a launch team. And the attention to detail required to make sure you don't have a rocket blow up. You have to be aware of everything, even down to things like nickel flakes and transistors in electronic boxes on board. You know, there's that attention to detail in preparing delicious food, you know, the selection of the ingredients, the preparation. So yeah, I completely relate to that. And that is the success formula. Food is not big picture. Food is not looking at the big picture. Food is having a vision, but then having the ability to execute the details.
You know, I didn't go to school to become a chef. Man, I learned the hard way. 6 months with you, 6 months with somebody else, 6 months with another guy. Man, I work with a lot of different people. And I see sometimes, you know, all these people, they do a recipe here, a recipe there. I just go the other way around. Says, oh no. Simple. I would say you gotta make sometimes an appetizer. And you look at it, why I'm making like everybody else, the standard bruschetta al pomodoro, let's say, diced tomato, the garlic. Let's change it around. Let me roast the tomato. Let me use a different tomato. I am not gonna be there putting liquid smoke or whatever. No, I'm gonna burn them a little bit inside the oven and give it the liquid smoke flavor. Then I get everything out and I see what is missing sometimes. Oh no, these things need a little bit of rosemary. Let me fry a little bit of rosemary and olive oil and then kind of press it a little bit and take all the perfume out, the essence of the rosemary over the garlic, and mix it up with this tomato and do the infusion over there. Man, that comes good when you do that. This is just the things there. I just do it.
For many years, I had a day job that was very intense. Get up very early in the morning and come home pretty well drained. But I was reaching the end of my career, and my wife and I discovered that she did have this very rare autoimmune disease. We established a foundation, the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation, to raise awareness for autoimmune disease and to accelerate research. And my part of it is the Race for RP, kind of allowing me to pursue one of my not completely hidden passions, but little did I know that I could become a gentleman racer and use that part of my life to raise awareness for autoimmune research. And we've taken that story first here locally and then across the US and even into Europe.
Langberg comes out of turn 20 and immediately starts to accelerate away. Good restart from Solana. Langberg, the overall leader, also leads it. And what a great restart from Neil.
And every step of that way, Chef Mike has been with us.
He knew that we were having meetings, we would have lunch meetings, we would have dinner meetings, and there was this evolving flow of people coming into the restaurant who Chef Mike would meet. He would sit at the tables with us, with all these different people who he got to know and they got to know, and these relationships were forming and building and growing. Put decals on everything that you can possibly put a decal on a planter outside the restaurant, on the tent during the pandemic when we had to eat outside, on the doorway, on the doormat.
His cars, his trucks, his motorcycle, the back of his RV. He has been an outspoken advocate. If we have an Italian audience, he can tell you in his home language all about autoimmune disease and what we're doing and what he does to help us.
He has a huge heart, and I saw him in action numerous times in the restaurant with people who are either disabled, young fellow with autism who was overwhelmed with all the noise, and he gets people, he understands that there's different needs, and he can problem solve immediately.
You have to have a passion. If you don't have a passion for the people, food sometimes is 10%. When you come at Aliotta, you gotta feel like you own the place. When you stand at the table and I come over, people, they stand up to say, hi, Chef Mike, this is my friend, this is my friend. When they bring those people, they become my friend too somehow.
If I know Mike and you're type of person like Mike is, that it's the number one thing you want to do is be able to make people happy. Realizing that people come here for multiple reasons, obviously, you know, that culture, that warm feeling, but also then having an amazing food experience. I think it kind of rounds out everything he was trying to accomplish over all the years that he was here.
Every year my kids at my birthday decide to give me a surprise birthday, right? It's never a surprise. I know they know my favorite restaurant. They know exactly where I want to be. And he knocks himself out. We're quite a big group. And he himself sits with us, talks to us. He talks to all of my sons, my daughter-in-laws, even the children know him. I can't say enough how we are treated. The food, of course, is amazing, but how we're treated, it is family. And you just notice it. You notice it all the way around the room, no matter who's here, who isn't. That makes it special.
I started bringing my family here for dinners when my kids were little, and Mike always came over and said, take a look at the menu. If there's something that's not on the menu that you would like, just tell me and I'll make it for you. I mean, and that is not something that had ever happened to me before at any other restaurant. Just that attitude of, I'm here to make you happy.
This place has been the stage for my life with my husband. Before we were married, after we were married, during our careers, and, you know, and after he died. After 9/11, I distinctly remember sitting back there at our table back there, and Mike sitting down with us and saying, he goes, I'm going to apply for my U.S. citizenship. This country has given so much to me, and I want to become a U.S. citizen. So when it came time for the swearing-in ceremony, Norm was his best man. Norm was his guest at the swearing-in. I call him his best man, but so that's such a special connection for me, and I love that there's somebody that remembers my husband and knows my husband, and I have that with Mike, you know, and so many memories are here in this restaurant.
When I first heard about the making of this film, I immediately thought, this is going to be great. Because if there's one guy's story who needs telling, it's the one for Mike Aliotta. He's such a success. He's selfless, he's self-taught, he's ingenious, he's inquisitive, he's indomitable, with an infectious spirit about him that you can't help but get sucked in. And he's also got a heart as big as the ocean that he used to sail when he was in the Merchant Marines. I recalled that there were a series of beer commercials that used to run on television a number of years ago, and they all featured the quote-unquote most interesting man in the world. I'm here to tell you today, I know the real-life version of the most interesting man in the world, and that's Mike Aliotta. Unlike those commercials, there's no need to make up any stories about Mike. He's lived them. Who else could establish and run a successful restaurant for over 25 years in uber-competitive Southern California? This guy. He's the best there is.
I've relied on him. I have relied on him. He sees things, he hears things, he knows things. In the restaurant, if he smells something, if he hears the car, if he hears a baby, he can do magic tricks for toddlers who are cranky and hungry. He has this ability to know what is going on all around him.
He's a very good man. He was work with not only with his hands, he worked with his mind, because he's very intelligent, that guy. That's why he's in this place. He got heart, he got very good. He always asks me for my family and how's your family do. Sometimes I feel like he's my brother. If he calls me, if he needs me, he need me, I go anywhere he wants. Because he's a good man, and that's it. I go. No matter how far he go, I'll go with him.
He's got the biggest heart in the world, you know. I mean, I have experiences with my kids. I mean, you know, he's always doing something for them. Their birthdays, during Christmas, he's become like family to us. My kids look at him and it's like, you know, it's someone very special in their lives. And, you know, same way for me too.
I feel blessed that I crossed his path in so many aspects. Not only because he helped me with my two boys as well, and somehow a mentor to them. So that's a blessing for me. You know, when someone opens the door for your kids, that's it. That's what else do I want? We both learn a little bit from each other. But one of the things that I have learned the most is from him is not to think too much about what's going to happen tomorrow. Just deal one day at a time. And I think that's one of the blessings that I can tell you that I'm learning from him. Let's just worry about today. Tomorrow we'll figure it out. Tomorrow we'll find a solution. And when someone brings that balance back to you, I think it's a blessing. When he has a stove, that's all he needs. That's all he needs. It can be one single pot.
In my life, I've been fortunate to work for the same company for 45 years, the Los Angeles Kings hockey team. I was a player for 10 years. I moved into the broadcast booth. And we were fortunate enough to win 2 Stanley Cups. Well, Mike was part of both of those. First one is just a caterer, because we held it at a private residence. But the last time we won a Stanley Cup, 2014, we had the party right here. I could not think of a better place to have it. Why not have it here? It's my second home. Susie, my wife, it's our second home. When something happens like that in your life, you think about the people that you care about. And what they did to this restaurant for us was, that night was, I'll never forget.
What made me successful, I've been the manager. I'm gonna go from the I position from the manager, the executive chef. I've been the line cook, the sous chef, dishwasher, cleaning my own bathroom here. I'm not afraid to say it. That's what I do every day, all my life. I've been doing this all my life, and I will never change it. If you do another adventure, it will be the same like this one. So far,